Hi, Jason Knott with CE Pro, and today we are talking about audio. And audio is really making a comeback with a lot of integrators doing a lot more high performance than they were doing years ago, which is great for the industry. And one of those integrators is with me today, Bill Bryan, Director of Client Services at Sound Video Automation in Rancho Santa Margarita, California. Thanks for joining me today, Bill.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, first tell me a little bit about the company and yourself and how you got started in custom installation.
Well, ironically, we actually started as a high-end two-channel designer. That's really what we did in the mid-'80s, and it was more of a kind of a hobby turned business, if you will. About '98, I joined a partnership of a retail store in Mission Viejo, and then that ran for about 4 years, and then the advent of AudioGone really killed us at high-end retail. So we split up, and that's when Sound Video Automation was born and became more of an integration automation type systems company because quite frankly, the high-end audio business was becoming way too competitive from a standpoint of the internet. And so we'd have people come into our store back when we were open, and they'd take up a showroom for or demo room, excuse me, for about 3 hours, and then they'd go down the street and buy the speakers offline, or online, and that got a little bit tedious, especially when they come back a year later and say, "Well, you're the dealer of record, so you need to service these because the subwoofer went out in them," and then the manufacturer would call us and say, "Hey, why aren't you taking care of this customer?" I'll say, "Because they didn't buy them from us." I just don't think that the manufacturers were ready for what would happen on the internet, and I think that's changed over time, obviously. But that's kind of why we got out of the what you would call retail box business, if you will. But now we're doing just a lot of full automation systems. A lot of what we do really has nothing to do with audio, but it's still my passion. I built a pair of speakers when I was 16 years old and caught the bug and was an audiophile right up to the time I started designing the systems.
And you mentioned that you are diversified and that you're about 65% commercial and 35% resi.
That's correct. Yes, we only do specific types of residential systems, those that are doing comprehensive, environmental controls, lighting, that sort of thing. And then, of course, for the most part, the higher level audio, whether it's whole house or theaters or listening rooms or things like that.
All right, so speaking of higher level audio, one of the solutions that you guys are using is the TruAudio Select Series. And tell me, how did you fall upon that brand in this very highly competitive, high performance speaker market?
Well, I've been a dealer for them now for about 3 years, and we were introduced to them through Control 4 Systems, and they were a partner with them at the time, and now we're now direct with them. And I went to CEDIA this last year in September and was blown away in their demo room when they had an octagon style presentation of the Select Series for the first time, and really didn't know what I was going to see. I just was stopping by to see my rep and sat down and spent almost an hour in the room. I was just blown away. I'd never heard a monitor with such accuracy and realism, and I was intrigued by the 3-tweeter horizontal array because I was used to line source. My big favorites were Genesis Audio, BG Radia, Wisdom, those guys back in the day, and then of course BG's no longer with us, rest in peace. And so I actually had that product up in the front end of my personal system here in the programming office, and was hard pressed to let go, quite frankly. I really loved it, was used to it. I've got 4 different manufacturers represented in this room from a standpoint of different channels or zones of audio in the surround system that I test quite frequently. Every opportunity I want to play hooky, actually. And then I was talking to my rep, and I said, I wonder what those would be like if you were to take them and stack them. And I don't know if you're real familiar with the speaker, but they're designed so that you can, in a narrow room, have them with the outside tweeter pointing out, and in a wider room have the outside tweeter or the outside tweeter of the speaker pointing in. There's a adjustable logo on the same bridge as the tweeters. I'm looking at them as I speak to you, and that's adjustable so that, like, if you decide to have them in a left channel vertical array, you could adjust the logo so it's upright, you know, and same thing with any other position. So my concern is the separation between the arrays, and I wanted to do a line source speaker, basically a line source monitor speaker for behind the screen, but I wanted to have something that had that kind of a line array feel that I'm used to. So I stacked 4 of them on the right and left channels, and then I gave them a bit of a degree horizontally and a bit of a degree vertically, and they wound up sounding pretty amazing. I mean, like, to the point of, even after 6 hours of burn-in, I was sitting back going, I haven't been able to enjoy my reference sampling CDs since CES 2003, where we did some system design there at the show. And so anyway, I basically set the speakers up with a 3-degree progressive angle vertically, so that the top speaker's actually at a downturn of 9 degrees, and then they're towed in at about 7 degrees. And if you're sitting in the sweet spot, the sound, the projection of sound, the vocals, if they're supposed to be center stage, they feel like, now, you know, you're not here, so you don't know, but behind my office is my garage. They feel like they're at the garage door. That's how far back the presentation is. And when the screen is up, you don't see the speakers. So the illusion that your eyes get is even more evolved, if you know what I mean. Sometimes when you're looking at the speakers, the presentation isn't the same until you close your eyes and go, wow, that's really cool. You know what I mean?
It sounds like the design there gives you extreme flexibility to kind of meet the needs of the customers and build kind of a seamless sound stage no matter what the situation.
Oh, absolutely. And it also gives a presentation for that really, really critical listening if they so desire. I mean, there are a lot of people that have a great ear, they just don't know it. It's kind of like, you know, you have a bottle of wine, you have no idea how to pick a bottle of wine, but you know what's good when you taste it. There are a lot of people out there that are like that, but they've never really experienced really good audio. So, you know, most of the time people are looking to fit the installation within the budget, and this allows you to do so even with just one speaker. Now, I went a little overboard and I've got 10 speakers in the 3-channel array, but I think you can achieve it very, very easily, either horizontally or vertically with this speaker. It's so accurate. I mean, it's got a sense of realism. Again, like I said, I haven't heard in a very long time with just the integration side of my business.
Now, are you using that with a particular size room? Is it got to be a certain size, medium size or large size room, or does it fit any application?
I purposely enjoy this room because it's like the worst room you could possibly have. It's just a box. It's one big rectangle with windows on one side and monitors on the other. So it couldn't be worse acoustically for what I try to achieve. But that's good, because then I know that the speakers that I'm using can adjust and attenuate for any kind of an audible anomaly and still create that presence that's just undeniable. And here's the other cool thing about these speakers. I was really concerned that they wouldn't integrate well, because the other speakers in the array, with the exception of the triads and the high channel augmentation positions, are all ribbons. So, you know, I wasn't sure that they would match up real well. I'm telling you, it's the most transparent performance. I've got triads in the high fronts and rears. I've got Genesis dipoles in the side channels, and I've got well, here it is right here. This is a custom speaker that I built from some BG components, and it's sitting on top of a corner subwoofer. So yeah, it's a little bit of custom and a little bit of factory. So, but I mean, again, the point is the performance. I haven't heard it in a very, very long time, and usually you would have to spend a great deal more money to get that kind of articulation from the front channels of the speakers. The dialogue is amazing. It's extremely full. It's very accurate from a standpoint of positioning. In the 2-channel environment, from just a stereo listening standpoint, if you had the screen up, or actually if you didn't have the screen up, you'd think you were listening to the center channel for all the vocals. It's just dead accurate and extremely refreshing. There are a lot of speakers out there. We won't talk about names, or I can if you like, that are articulate, but not they're articulate to the extent that your ears will start bleeding if you have to listen beyond 2 hours. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yep. What about driving the speakers, Bill? Are you find any problems or with or what's the compatibility from the amplification and the receiver standpoint?
No, actually, when I first got them, I just had a couple different amps in the system. I've since gone ahead and invested in some signature ATIs that are running them very nicely. But I had a little Rotel zone amplifier, which I think is 75 watts a channel, and they drove fine on that. Obviously, the refinement got better as I went up the chain on the amplifiers. Then I had a 200 watt amplifier on there. I also tried an AV receiver with I think 110 watts, and that was beautiful. But again, they are so good that I would say make the investment in the amplification, do it right so that you can really get full value out of the performance of the speaker.
Have you tried combining them with the TruAudio W12 subwoofer
Yes.
that they have? How's that worked?
Actually taken the subwoofer that I had in that position and put that up in the front. I have two zones of subwoofers in the system, but it works fantastically. It pairs up incredibly with them. There's no low end there's no low end diffusion. If you what happens with subwoofers a lot of the time is they take away from some of the mid bass coupling of the speaker when they're added to a stereo performance, and I experienced none of that so far in the system. So I think that they've done a very, very good job with that subwoofer. I'm still actually tweaking it a little bit. I'm new into this system, so I haven't actually integrated it into a client system yet, but I do have a couple on the books that I'm extremely excited about getting that finished and seeing their faces when they hear it.
What's your favorite piece of demo material to listen to? You talked about it, sitting there and enjoying your system for the first time in a long time. What do you like listening to, or what would be great for the clients?
There's so much out there. I've got a Rachmaninoff piece that's just fantastic. It's really, really well recorded if you're into symphony. It's what the hell is it? I can't remember off the top of my head. There's also a live performance by the Eagles on their revival tour for Hotel California. It'll kill any subwoofer that's not compatible, if you know what I mean. There's well, Ted Nugent. What the hell is it called? I can't think of these things right now. There's also a couple of samplers that a few of the manufacturers like Burmeister and Arcam had put out early on in the 2000s that I use quite frequently to test these with, and they're fantastic. But I mean, any vocals like Diana Krall, Nora Jones, those are tests. And then just real good instrumentals.
All right, let's kind of sum up. For an integrator who hasn't maybe tried the TruAudio Select Series, kind of give your summation of not just the audio performance, but working with the company itself. Oh,
for someone who's thinking about TruAudio?
Yeah.
Well, it's the best speaker company I've ever been involved with. I mean, like I said, I had a love affair with BG, the principals there, everybody who worked there. I've been up to their factory several times. It was a family environment for me, but in the short period that I've been involved with TruAudio, every single person there is just the name of the company really kind of says it. They're true, real individuals, and they care about their customers to the extent that they really build and create an environment, a buying environment around what we need in our current, stressful environments. They have a lot of support partners on their website that are perfectly aligned with a lot of the things that we do, some of which I haven't even had a chance to experience yet, because as I said, I've only been a direct dealer for about a year and a half, but I absolutely love it. And all the product lines, from their very, very least expensive construction product, all the way up to their Rev and now the Select Series. They've got, in my humble but accurate opinion, they've got the best passive soundbar in the business in their custom product. It's just phenomenal. I mean, it really is. It's something you can actually sit back and listen to and enjoy from a musical standpoint, which, I've never, ever thought about doing that with a soundbar.
Well, you mentioned Ted Nugent earlier. I love the intro to Stranglehold, that riff.
That's it right there.
Is that what it is? So
Yes.
I'm going to use an analogy here that it sounds like TruAudio and the Select Series have gotten a stranglehold on your high performance business. So, Bill, Bryan, thanks for taking the time with CE Pro today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.